My child, I need to speak to you about something I witnessed. Not something that was reported to me, something I saw with the full attention of the one who sees everything. I watched you in the season you have been in. I watched every day of it. Every morning you chose to get up when the weight of what you were carrying should have kept you down. Every moment you made the choice to continue when the logic of what you had been given to work with did not support continuation. Every hour of the night you spent holding what you believed against the pressure of everything visible, arguing for a different conclusion. I watched all of it, and what I saw was not simply someone enduring. What I saw was something rare, something that does not happen as often as people assume it does when they speak generally about faith and perseverance. I saw someone who stayed when staying cost something real. I want you to understand what that cost looks like from where I stand, because from inside the experience it feels like losing. From where I stand, it looks like something else entirely. It looks like a person choosing, in the absence of visible evidence, to trust that what I said is more reliable than what they can see. And that choice, repeated on the days when it was hardest, has been building something in the spiritual realm that is about to become visible in your life. You have been walking through this season without knowing what your faithfulness was producing in the unseen, without knowing that every morning you chose to stand again was being observed, without knowing that every moment of worship you offered from a place of depletion rather than abundance was being received differently than worship offered from the ease of abundance. There is a quality in the praise of someone who has nothing left, but is still choosing to worship that cannot be replicated by someone who is comfortable. It carries a weight of genuine trust that is rarer than most people understand. I received yours. Every moment of it, the moments you spent in prayer when you had no language left, except a simple holding of my name, the moments when you could not articulate what you were asking because the season had removed your certainty about how things were supposed to go, and all you could do was bring yourself before me and remain. Those were not your weakest moments of faith. Those were your most honest. And honest faith, offered from the place of genuine not knowing, is the kind that changes things in the spiritual realm. I want you to know that. I want you to know what the record in the spiritual realm actually says about who you have been in this season. Not the record you have been writing about yourself in the interior, the one shaped by exhaustion and disappointment, and the quiet accumulation of hoping and not yet seeing. The record I kept, the one that is accurate about what you actually did when the circumstances were real and the cost was genuine, and no one who matters in the visible dimension was watching closely enough to bear witness to what you were, choosing day after day in the quiet type. I did not quit in the comments. My child, I also want to acknowledge something that the season asked of you that is not often spoken about directly. There is a particular form of faithfulness that belongs to the person who is holding something real in the interior while managing the appearance of everything being manageable on the exterior, who is carrying the weight of a season in private while maintaining the presence of someone who is still moving forward in public, who has learned to hold grief and faith in the same hand, because the season did not allow for the luxury of setting one down while holding the other. That specific kind of faithfulness, the faithfulness of someone who is simultaneously bearing more than what is visible and still choosing to keep going, is what I watched you develop through this season. I want to name it clearly because the one living it rarely gets to hear it named. What you have been doing is not simply perseverance. It is the particular grace of someone who learned to carry everything they were given without putting any of it down, and who kept moving even when the weight made every step slower than the step before it. That is not ordinary faith. It is the faith that I look for in the person I am preparing to carry something significant, because what I am about to release into your life requires exactly that. It requires someone who has already proved they can carry something real without dropping it when the visible conditions argue for letting go, my child. I want to speak about the nature of what you just passed through, because what felt like an ordinary difficult season to you, just a long stretch of things not working, of doors not opening, of faith being held with nothing in the visible dimension to hold it up, was something entirely different from the inside of what I was doing. It was an examination, not because I doubted what was in you. I do not doubt what I designed, but because what I am about to release into your life requires a specific quality of character to hold it, and character cannot be confirmed by what a person says they would do in a hypothetical. It can only be confirmed by what they actually do when the circumstances are real and the cost is genuine, and the easy option is visible and available. You have been in the proving ground of that confirmation. Every closed door was a question. Every delay was measuring something. Every moment you chose to declare instead of surrendering to what the circumstances appeared to be saying was being observed not casually. With the full weight of attention I give to the moments that matter most. As it is written in James 1:12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." My child, that crown is not decoration. It is the specific reward that belongs to someone who was tested at the level you were tested and did not fail the examination. I want to tell you what the examination was actually measuring, because the visible challenge was only the surface of what was being assessed. Underneath the surface, underneath the closed doors and the delays and the seasons of feeling like the faith you were holding was producing nothing, was the real question. And the real question was this: when there is nothing visible to justify the continued holding of what I said, will you continue to hold it? Will the foundation of what I placed in you be stable enough to bear the weight of seasons that do not offer visible evidence to support it? That is the examination, and it is the one that most people fail, not because they do not want to be faithful, not because they did not begin with genuine intention, but because at a certain point in the long season, the gap between what was promised and what is visible becomes too wide for the version of faith they had developed to bridge, and they make adjustments, they revise down, they reinterpret what I said to mean something smaller than it meant. They find a more comfortable frame for the season that lets them stop holding what had become too heavy to hold. You did not do that. You held it. You held it when holding it made no visible sense. You held it past the point where most people had let go. You held it in the specific territory where faith becomes something other than optimism. Optimism still has reasons. What you were doing in the hardest stretch of this season had outlasted its reasons. And that is the territory where I look to see who is actually standing and who is pretending to stand. You were actually standing, and what I saw in that standing is the answer to the examination. Yes, the foundation is stable. This one can be trusted with what I am about to release. As it is written in Hebrews 11:6, "Without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. You earnestly sought. The reward is moving." Type "I stood alone" in the comments. My child, I want to speak about what happened in the spiritual realm in response to what I witnessed, because what occurred was not a quiet administrative acknowledgement. The spiritual realm did not simply update your record and move to the next item. What I saw in you demanded a response that carried urgency. I want you to understand what urgency in the heavenly realm looks like, because it does not look like panic or surprise. I am never surprised. What it looks like is the movement of what was already prepared being released with the specific timing that your confirmation made possible. The prayers that had seemed to stop at the ceiling were not stopped. They were received the moment they were spoken. They were being held in the architecture of what I was building rather than being delayed or lost. Every word you prayed into the season that felt like it returned to you unanswered was received. Every declaration you made when nothing in the visible confirmed the declaration was heard. They were not held because they were unworthy. They were held because the structure they were meant to land in was still being built. And when the confirmation was complete, when what I saw in the examination was sufficient to release what I had been holding in readiness, the movement began. Assignments were given with your name on them. What had been prepared in advance of your arrival at this threshold began to be set in final position. I say this, not to give you a feeling of religious excitement that passes by mourning. I say it because you need to know that the season of apparent stillness was not still at all on the inside of what I was doing. As it is written in Psalm 103:20, "Praise the Lord, you his angels. You mighty ones who do his bidding, who obey his word. Those who do my bidding receive their assignments with your name attached." That movement is not reversible. What was released was released. Nothing that opposes my purposes has the authority to reshelve what I have set in motion on your behalf. Type "Heaven saw it" in the comments. Sow a seed right now for the one who stood in an examination they did not know they were in, who held what I said past the point where holding it made visible sense, who kept faith alive in a season that offered nothing visible to feed it. Visit the link in the description below, or scan the QR code on your screen. Every seed sown for them is a declaration that the holding was not wasted and the reward is moving. My child, I need to speak now about something that has been happening around you during this season that you may not have fully understood while it was happening. There has been a pattern in the opposition you experienced. It was not random. It was not the general friction of a difficult life that everyone encounters. It was coordinated, and once you see the pattern, you will recognize it for what it was. The first movement of the coordination was isolation. The gradual removal of the relationships and environments that had been supporting you. People who had been present began to drift. Some left with words that gave a reason. Others simply became unavailable in ways that were hard to identify as departure until the departure was complete. The spaces that had felt like home began to feel like places you were visiting. The belonging you had built, the connections that had helped you carry the weight of the calling, began to thin, and the specific quality of the thinning was designed to leave you in a silence where the second movement had more room to operate. Because the second movement required silence to be effective. The second movement was accusation. Into the silence that the isolation created, a voice arrived with questions that had a specific target. The questions were about your identity, about whether what you believed about yourself and what I had said about your calling was accurate, or whether you had been deceived about your own significance. The voice was not loud. It did not need to be. In the silence of isolation, a quiet voice has enormous reach. It did not say you were worthless. It did not need to say something that extreme for the damage to be real. It asked subtle questions. Questions like, why would this be for you specifically? Questions like, how do you know you heard correctly? Questions like, look at the evidence. Look at how long it has been. Look at who is around you and who is not. Does the evidence support what you have been holding? The questions were not honest inquiries. They were constructed to produce a specific conclusion about your identity and your calling before I had a chance to reveal what the season was actually producing. And the third movement was designed to follow the first two. Isolation creates silence. Accusation fills the silence with questions about identity, and if those questions are accepted as accurate, what follows is the weight of someone who no longer knows who they are in relation to what I called them to. A heaviness, a difficulty moving forward that is not explained by circumstances alone but by the interior pressure of someone trying to carry a calling, while being told the calling is not real. The heaviness of someone in whom the voice of accusation has begun to compete with the voice of what I said. That heaviness was not weakness. It was the weight of fighting a battle in the interior while maintaining the visible appearance of still standing. My child, here is what I need you to understand about that three-phase pattern. It was deployed against you because of what you carry, not in spite of it. The pattern is not applied randomly. It is targeted specifically at people whose potential represents a threat to what opposes my purposes. The isolation, the accusation, the heaviness. These were not evidence that I had withdrawn. They were evidence that what you carry is significant enough to require coordinated strategy to attempt to neutralize. You were not attacked because you were losing. You were attacked because of what winning looks like in your life. And the attack was designed to make you arrive at the conclusion, before the breakthrough manifested, that the breakthrough was not coming, to get you to make the adjustment, to revise down, to reinterpret, to let go of what you were holding before what you were holding had time to become what I designed it to become. It did not work. You are still here. What you were holding is still intact, and the pattern that was designed to defeat you has instead confirmed what it was trying to prevent. As it is written in Exodus 33:16, what else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth? You are distinct for a reason. The separation was not rejection, it was selection. Type "they will not win" in the comments. Sow a seed for the one who recognized the three-phase pattern in what they have been living through, who sees now that the isolation and the accusation and the heaviness were not God withdrawing, but the opposition targeting what they carry. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen. Sow it in the knowledge that what was designed to end their faith confirmed it instead. My child, I want to speak about what happened to the people who were watching your season from the outside and arrived at the wrong conclusions about what it meant, because there were people in your life during this season who made assessments. They watched the closed doors and drew conclusions about what the closed doors meant. They watched the delay and formed opinions about what the delay indicated. They saw you still standing in the same season after the same length of time and decided what that said about your future. Some of them said it out loud. Others kept it to themselves but allowed it to shape how they treated you, how much of their attention they gave to your situation, whether they asked how things were going or stopped asking because they had decided they already knew the answer. There were people who looked at what was happening on the surface of your life and wrote an interpretation of it that did not account for what I was doing underneath the surface, who decided that the visible evidence was the complete evidence, who concluded from the length of the season that the season would not end in what you had been holding, who began to attach the word delay to a belief about your capacity rather than a recognition of my timing. I want to speak a word of clarity over those assessments now. Every conclusion drawn about your future based on the length of the waiting was drawn without access to what I was measuring. Every opinion formed about your potential based on the visible evidence of the season was formed without the ability to see what the season was producing in you that was invisible from the outside. And every person who allowed those conclusions to shape how they positioned themselves toward you made an error that your breakthrough is about to correct in front of them. Not because I am interested in their embarrassment, but because the nature of what I am releasing into your life cannot be hidden. What comes next will be visible, and the visibility of what comes next will make its own statement about the accuracy of the assessments that were made during the season. They watched the waiting and called it failure. They will watch what comes after the waiting and understand that what they were watching was preparation. You do not need to argue the case. The breakthrough will make the argument on your behalf. As it is written in Isaiah 54:17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their vindication is from me, my child." I want to speak to you about the gap that has been the most persistent question of this season. You believe I hear your prayers. The question is why the gap exists between the hearing and the answering, between the declaration you made in faith and the manifestation of what you declared, between the promise and the visible reality of the promise. I want to address that gap directly. As it is written in Daniel 10, when Daniel prayed, the answer was released at the moment of his first petition, not at the moment it arrived, the moment it was spoken. But the answer had to travel through a dimension of resistance between where it was released and where Daniel was positioned to receive it. And the travel took time, 3 weeks of time in Daniel's accounting. During those 3 weeks, Daniel received no visible evidence that the answer was in transit. He held his fast. He continued in prayer. He did not know that the answer was already moving toward him. He only knew that he had asked and believed and chosen to continue in the position of receiving. What arrived on the 21st day was not something that had begun on the 21st day. It had been released at the moment of the first prayer. What the 3 weeks represented was the distance between the release and the arrival. My child, you are Daniel in this moment. The answer to what you have been praying was released. Not recently, when you first brought it before me in faith. You have been in the distance between the release and the arrival. You have been in the 3 weeks, and the 3 weeks do not mean no. They mean that what is coming to you has been in motion long enough that the travel is almost complete. I want you to know that what is in transit toward you is not late. It is not lost. It is not held up by something that has the authority to hold up what I have released. It has been in motion since the moment you believed it into existence. The delay is not because I said no. The delay is because your yes is fighting through the resistance of the distance between where it was released and where you are standing to receive it. Keep standing. The travel has almost concluded, and there is nothing on the other side of where you are standing that is capable of stopping what has been released from arriving. I want you to understand something about the still position during the travel. It is not passive. It is not the absence of action. It is the specific action of someone who knows that the arrival depends not on their effort to accelerate it, but on their faithfulness to remain where they need to be to receive it. The still position is the most active thing a person can do when what is coming is already in motion. Moving away from where the delivery is coming to does not speed the arrival. It only means you are not where you need to be when it lands. Stay where you are. Stay in the faith that sent the first prayer. Stay in the declaration that you made before anything visible confirmed that the declaration was accurate. That is the position. That is the only action required of you now, because the movement has already been authorized on your behalf, and the movement is already covering the distance. And the distance is closing, and what is coming to where you are. Remain. Type "my yes is moving" in the comments, my child. I want to tell you about what has been activated in you as a result of what I witnessed in the examination. Because the examination did not only confirm your character, it unlocked something. There is a dimension of authority that becomes available to a person who has been confirmed by the specific kind of test you just passed. Not the authority of someone declared powerful from the beginning, without anything being required of them. Not the authority of position without the authority of proved character behind it. The authority of someone tested in the specific conditions that reveal whether the foundation is real. And when the foundation proved real, when the examination confirmed that what I placed in you holds under the weight of a season designed to expose whether it holds, what you carry now has a different quality to it than what you carried before the season began. As it is written in Luke 10:19, I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy, and nothing will harm you. That authority is not new language over you. It is the same authority made active in a dimension it was not fully active in before the examination confirmed you were ready to carry it without it being mishandled. Your words now carry the specific weight of someone who was tested and stood. Your declarations now create movement in the spiritual realm that corresponds to the confirmation of what the examination revealed. When you speak now, what you say carries the credibility of someone whose faithfulness was confirmed under pressure, and the spiritual realm responds to that credibility differently than it responds to the words of someone whose foundation has not been tested at this level. You are not the same person who entered the season. You emerged confirmed. And what was confirmed by the season is what makes what comes next possible to hold without dropping it. My child, I want to speak to you about the authority that was unlocked through what you passed through and what it now means for how you move through the world. Because there is a specific dimension of authority that belongs to someone who has survived the three-phase attack. Not merely survived it, but emerged from it with the foundation still intact and the calling still held. The person who survived isolation without concluding that the isolation was permanent. Who survived accusation without concluding that the accusation was accurate, who survived the heaviness without concluding that the heaviness was the final word about their capacity. That specific survival produces something in a person that cannot be produced any other way. It produces the settled conviction of someone who has been to the edge of what faith could carry and discovered that the edge was further out than they had been told, who discovered that I was still present at the place where everything visible had argued for my absence, who discovered that the foundation held at the depth it was tested at. That discovery changes a person. It changes how they speak. It changes how they stand. It changes the quality of the conviction in their voice when they declare what I said. Because now the declaration is not theoretical. It is the declaration of someone who held what I said when holding it was the most difficult option available, and who discovered that holding it was the right choice. That quality of conviction is what carries authority. Not volume, not confidence that was never challenged, tested conviction, the kind that has been to the fire and come out knowing something it did not know before. My child, I want to address what is going to happen to the opposition, not the people who were instruments of the difficult season, the assignments, the coordinated strategy that was deployed against you. What I want you to understand is that you do not need to respond to those assignments with your own counter-strategy. You do not need to construct a defense. You do not need to work out how to dismantle what was built against you. The book of 2 Chronicles 20 records what happened when my people faced an enemy that was larger and better organized than anything they could address by their own strength. I said, do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Go out to face them and I will be with you. The battle is not yours but mine. They did not need to fight. They took up their positions and they watched. And the enemy, facing no resistance from my people, turned on itself. The opposition that had been organized against my purpose self-destructed in the space where resistance should have been but was not. What they had coordinated against my people became the instrument of their own defeat. Rest while I handle what assembled against you. Watch while heaven dismantles what was constructed against your purpose. Be still while the coordination that was aimed at your calling turns and collapses under its own weight. Your job is not to fight the opposition. Your job is to maintain the position that the examination confirmed you can hold. The still position, the trusting position. The one that makes C's part and answers arrive from the distance they have been traveling. As it is written in Psalm 91:7, 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. My child, this is not poetic language. It is the description of what happens structurally when protection is assigned with your name on it. What falls around you does not fall on you. What dismantles the opposition does not require your involvement to be thorough. What was built against you will not outlast what I built in you. The examination confirmed the difference between the two, and the difference is not close. Type I was being formed in the comments. My child, I want to speak now about who you are in the context of what I have just described, not who the season suggested you might be, not who the accusation tried to convince you that you were, who I designed you to be before any of the circumstances of this life had a chance to add their commentary. As it is written in Ephesians 1-4, He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world, before time arranged itself into the sequence you have been living through, before the season that tested you existed as a concept, before the three-phase pattern had any target to aim at, before any of the people who formed conclusions about you based on the visible evidence of your waiting were born. I chose you. I designed you for the specific assignment that the season was testing your readiness for. And the choosing was not an afterthought. It was not a response to something you did that made yourself worthy of it. It was the original thought. The design came first. Everything that followed, including the season that felt like it was undoing what I had designed, was actually confirming it. You did not become chosen by surviving the season. You survived the season because you were already chosen, and what was placed in you before the foundation was sufficient to hold under the weight of what the season required. I did not design someone who would fail the test I knew was coming. I designed someone who would pass it, and then I watched you pass it. And then I released what was always held in readiness for the moment of the confirmation, as it is written in Isaiah 40:31, Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. My child, the mounting up is not metaphorical, it is structural. It is what happens in the life of someone whose waiting was genuine, and whose faith was real, and whose foundation was confirmed. The mounting up is not you straining to rise. It is the natural consequence of what occurs when what was pressed down by the weight of the season is released by the ending of the season. The ending has been declared. What was pressed down is about to rise, and the rising will not look like effort. It will look like the natural direction of something that was always meant to go up and is finally free to go in its designed direction. The season that pressed you down was not permanent, it was purposeful, and the purpose has been fulfilled. What comes next is what the purpose was always producing, not a version of what you hoped for, not a compensated substitute for what you lost during the waiting. What was always the destination of the road the season was building in you, and you are standing at the end of the road now. My child, I want to say one more thing about what comes after the confirmation, about what the territory of what is next actually looks like, not in the form of a schedule or a sequence of events, but in the quality of how you will know that the arrival has begun. You will know it not first by something large and unmistakable. You will know it first by a quieting of the resistance that has been with you throughout the season. The opposition has been a constant ambient pressure, not always loud, but always present in the background of what you were trying to do. A friction, a weight in the forward direction. When that quiets, when you notice that what had been resisting your movement has shifted, that is the first confirmation. Then you will begin to see what had been prepared arriving in ways that you did not set up. Conversations that open without you having arranged them. Doors that move without you having knocked on them again. Recognition from directions that had previously been closed to your existence. These are not coincidences. They are the visible manifestation of the assignments that were given with your name attached. They are the structure being completed now that the confirmation has been received and the release has been authorized. You will recognize them because they will have a quality of arrival about them that is different from anything you manufactured through your own effort. What you built through effort has the fingerprints of effort on it. What I am releasing into your life has the fingerprints of preparation on it. The preparation that began before the season started. The preparation that the season was perfecting. The preparation that is now, at the close of the examination, being delivered to the address of someone whose foundation was confirmed to be able to hold it. That is you. That is what comes next. As it is written in Proverbs 4:18, the path of the righteous is like the morning sun shining ever brighter till the full light of day, my child. The full light is not at the beginning of the path, it is at the end, and the brightness increases with every step taken in the right direction. You have been on the path every step of the season, including the steps that felt like they were going nowhere, was the path. And the path leads to the full light. That is not a figure of speech. It is the structure of what I designed for the person who walks through what you have walked through and arrives still walking, still holding, still here. Type "I am ready" now in the comments. Sow a seed before the closing prayer for the one who is standing at the threshold of what was held in readiness for them since before the foundation, who endured the examination without knowing it was an examination, who survived the three-phase pattern without knowing it was coordinated, who has been in the distance between the release of the answer and its arrival. Visit the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen. Sow it in the knowledge that the arrival is what is next. Type "I receive this" in the comments. My child, let me close with what I most need you to carry from this moment. You did not stumble into a season of difficulty and survive it by personal determination. You were designed before the foundation, confirmed in the examination, and released into the arrival of what was always prepared for you. The delays were not denial, they were development. The isolation was not abandonment. It was separation for the specific purpose of the assignment that requires someone who has been through what you have been through to carry it. The accusation found nothing to build a case on because there was nothing there to build a case on. What I placed in you before the foundation is not something that a season of difficulty or a coordinated pattern of opposition can remove. The opposition has already been ordered to self-destruct. The distance between the release of the answer and your position is closing. As it is written in Habakkuk 2-3, the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it will speak, and it will not lie. Though it tarries, wait for it because it will surely come. It will not delay past the appointed time. The appointed time is not a date on a human calendar. It is the moment when the preparation that was required is complete, and the confirmation that was needed has been given. The preparation is complete, the confirmation has been given, and what is next is the arrival of what was always on its way. You will not receive it as someone who barely survived the wait. You will receive it as someone who was confirmed by the wait to be exactly who I designed to carry what is coming. As it is written in Romans 8:31, if God is for us, who can be against us? No one, not successfully, not permanently, not in any way that changes what I declared over your life before the foundation was laid. Not the opposition, not the accusation, not the people who drew the wrong conclusions, not the length of the season, not the appearance of the delay. None of it changes the declaration. And the declaration is what determines the destination. You are still arriving where I said you would arrive. Heavenly Father, we come before you now over every chosen one who has been in the examination without knowing that what they were enduring was an examination, who held the faith in the season when nothing visible supported the holding, who survived the three-phase pattern of isolation and accusation and heaviness without surrendering the foundation, who has been watching people form wrong conclusions about their season and has chosen to let those conclusions stand rather than argue with them, knowing that what is coming will do the arguing. We receive today the confirmation that the examination is complete, that what was held in readiness is now in motion, that the distance between the release and the arrival is closing. We release every conclusion drawn about our identity and our future based on the visible evidence of the waiting. We release the weight of the questions the accusation placed in the silence that the isolation created. We receive instead what was written before the foundation, the choosing, the designing, the specific preparation for the assignment that the examination was always pointing toward. Keep us in the still position. Keep us in the trusting position. Let what you are dismantling dismantle without our interference. Let what you released at the moment of our first prayer arrive at the appointed time without our anxiety pulling us out of the position of receiving. Vindicate the waiting in front of the ones who watched it and drew the wrong conclusions. Let what comes next speak louder than everything the season appeared to say. In the name of the one who completes what he begins and who never designed something he did not know would arrive at what it was designed for. Amen. My child, I want you to know that the prayer you just prayed with me was received at the moment it was spoken, not held, not processed through a queue, received exactly as it was given, from exactly where you are standing. And the one who received it is the same one who designed you before the foundation and confirmed you through the season, and released what was always prepared for the moment of the confirmation. Nothing is separate in what I do. The prayer was connected to the preparation. The preparation was connected to the design. The design was connected to the declaration that went out before time began over someone who would one day stand at exactly this moment and receive exactly this word. My child, if this word found the place in you that has been holding on past the point where holding made visible sense, send this to the one person you know who is in the same examination you just passed, who needs to hear that the delay is not God saying no, but the answer fighting through the distance between the release and the arrival, who needs to know that the three-phase pattern is not evidence of abandonment, but evidence of significance. Let them know the appointed time is next. God bless you, beloved.